We're going to go ahead and get started now with our regular meeting. And we're going to start with recognitions and under a new protocol for how we're going to operate our board meeting. When we're doing recognitions and honoring students, to protect the privacy of our students, we're going to pause the board meeting recording. We've just started and we'll now be pausing that recording while we recognize students in this fighting. And with that, I will turn it over to the board.
So before we get started, I know we're in a celebration mode, but it also reminds us the importance of being present and also that life is extremely precious. Unfortunately, we lost a longtime staff member today, Philip Bruno, who works in our custodial staff and has worked here for over 25 years. And his wife also works in our food service. So we extend our condolences and like have a moment of silence. Okay, thank you. So again, switching gears, I'm going to start with our Windows SRO, David Schiff. If you'd like to come up, I know he likes a lot of attention. And Pat, if you want to go up for two here, Lieutenant Hildebrand. I know Mrs. Smith is here too. Now, a few months ago, I don't remember the exact date, someone's going to have this ceremony. March. Our SRO Schmidt saved the life of one of our students, and his swift action was amazing. It was all about his training, his presence, and his care for our students on a daily basis. We wanted to honor him officially in front of the mayor and also your lieutenant, just to say we really appreciate you, and not only you, but the entire program. And I know Ms. Smith has a couple words for you too.
Thank you. Yes, so this past March, we witnessed true heroism in action in our Lennox cafeteria. When a student began choking, Officer Schmidt recognized the struggle and immediately stepped in to perform the Heimlich maneuver and potentially saving the student's life. Officer Schmidt, your quick thinking and training made all the difference. But more than that, your actions remind us of how fortunate we are to have you as part of our school family. You don't just keep us safe, you care for our students in a way like they're just your own. On behalf of the entire Lennox community, and especially Colton and his family, thank you for being exactly where you needed to be when it mattered most.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
to you for your service on the Board of Education. You had extremely thoughtful leadership, especially with your work on the policy committee, and that will have an extremely long-lasting impact on our schools. You always brought student-centered perspective to every conversation, and you always thought what's best for all kids in the school district. I am grateful, and I'm sure the rest of the board is grateful for your commitment, your compassion, and your guidance to the school community, and we appreciate everything you did for us for the past 3 years and will continue to do. Thank you for everything.
Thanks, Charlie. You're going to be missed, particularly your good thinking, rational thinking, and serving as a sounding board for me sometimes. I really appreciated it. So.
In our minds, thinking about what decisions are best. One thing I think is really important for the future for this board is, and one thing that always helped me was to remember that in our community, there's only us. There is no us and them, there's only us. So that way we can think about and continue to think about every person. But I think that's just important going forward, given the climate and some other things to mention. But thank you so much. I appreciate it. It was a pleasure working with everybody.
Thank you. Okay, and last but not least, oh, Henry's here. All right, come on up. Dr. Roddy. Well, everyone's got to come up. Yeah, the whole family's got to come up. Hello. You gonna say hello? So I slipped earlier by saying Mr. Roddy. I'm starting to get used to it, but we want to commend you and celebrate you for your remarkable achievement by receiving your doctorate degree in educational leadership from Seton Hall University. And the title of your dissertation is Faculty and Administrator Perception of the Implementation of the IB Diploma Program in Relation to the Rogers Theory of Diffusion of Innovation. We will not make you recite all that. But what he did is really explain the innovative academic programs like IB and how they're implemented in school communities. Dr. Roddy, see, I did it again. Dr. Roddy offers really important educational insights into our district, and all this work he's done on his research will also contribute to our field. Since you've arrived, Dr. Roddy, to the school district, you had an immediate impact. You are incredibly bright. You have a huge vision, which we absolutely appreciate. You see that every student matters. Every student deserves the best program that they have. And we are extremely lucky to have you in the district. And you hold all the values that we hold dear in the district. You always think about equity. You always think about innovation, and you have a deep commitment to our students' success. So we commend you for this outstanding achievement. I know it's a lot. It's very hard. So we really appreciate that you took the time to contribute to the field, but also bring back that knowledge into the high school. I'm almost over. So again, congratulations on your achievement. But more importantly, we appreciate you as a leader in our school district. So congratulations. Got to come up for the certificate. Have a cupcake.
You got a diploma, so we didn't get you a certificate. Congratulations.
Henry, you can have 2 cupcakes.
All the sugar you want. All right, and I think Danielle had to head out, so that will move beyond student BOE report. And that brings us to recognition of visitors. Just a reminder on our policy, if anyone would like to address the board, you have 3 minutes. I'll give you a subtle wave at about 2 minutes, 45 seconds. And we do request that you not use student names or teacher names if there's a particular issue you're discussing. So if there's anyone that would like to address the board.
Hi, my name is Carol Brown, and I have two sons in the district. They're in second grade and fourth grade at Mill Road. And I'm here today as part of a group of parents. We have several of us here today who participated in the Red Hook Reads initiative, which I thought was fantastic and still ongoing in some ways based on the book The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. And a lot of us coming out of those conversations that we had are really energized to do more and to take more steps in conversation with the school board and with the school district and with the community to really take steps to do what he talks about in his book, which is to help our children spend less time sucked into the virtual world and more time interacting with each other and the world around them in the real world. So today, we as a group of interested parents have started a conversation with the Community Engagement Committee. We were at that committee meeting earlier today, and we at that meeting put in a request to have a meeting which is open to interested parents and students in the community to meet with Dr. Warden and with at least one member of the school board we hope will be there and an administrator from each school to talk about a series of issues that came up in these conversations that were part of Red Hook Reads. And for now, in this forum, what I would like to express is my support for the proposed new policy on the use of internet connected devices during the school day, which I know you will be voting on later in this meeting. And it's my desire to see that policy enforced uniformly and successfully in the coming year. And I know that many of my fellow parents feel the same way. I also know that there are a number of parents who probably feel differently on issues like this. And I hope that in all these conversations we have moving forward, we can bring in a variety of voices and really have consensus building conversations on this issue, because I know that we all have the well-being of our students at heart. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. That brings us to administrative reports. I don't know if anyone has any questions on the reports.
Just wanted to make sure we're connected again after the pause.
We are.
Yeah, okay.
Any, no questions on the reports. Okay. Superintendent update, Dr. Warden.
So there's a lot going on every day. It's the end of the year. There's excitement in the air. There's barbecues, there's festivals, there's a party for a party. So it's the excitement's in the air for our different celebrations. So I'm sure the board can see that there's many activities as you read the reports. Just to piggyback off the parent comment, we do have an evening coming up with Lenore Shaninsky. I think that's a Nancy. I'm going to say her name wrong, but anyway, she's the author of the Free Range Kids and the co-founder of Let Grow, which we're starting to implement in our three through five school. And she's going to bring which is open to the public, to speak to parents about parenting, trust, resilience. We also have an earlier in the day meeting with some community members and teachers and administrators to come together and talk about how this would look like in the community at 3:30. So we did invite some local government officials and community leaders to also talk about how we can work with the community to have that partnership that was just spoken about. So we invite everyone to attend that. And I think we're going to talk about the policy when we get to that area.
Yeah.
Is that okay? And then I'll turn it over to Dr. Hayes if you have any updates for us.
Thank you, Dr. Warden. Yeah, just a couple updates. So the capital project that was approved in October, the work has begun in the high school gymnasium, so that's completely shut down. The bleachers have all been removed. The stage has been deconstructed, and they started building walls for the 5th alcove of bleachers. So we are on schedule for that. We were able to move up the timeline for the work on the Lamb's columns, those front columns that need to be reconstructed. So that work will be done this summer as well. We have a number of projects that are happening this summer in all of the buildings just to continue aesthetic upgrades and some infrastructure upgrades, and we are have some approvals for extra custodial help this summer to help out with some of those projects. So that'll be great. We did trial in our transportation department, we trialed a new tablet on buses that has real-time GPS, which is very helpful when we have substitute bus drivers so that they can be assigned any route and the GPS will guide them through that. The other nice thing about this is that it will allow the driver to check off when a student is dropped off or picked up. So we have real-time tracking for students, which is great for our safety initiative. So we trialed them to make sure, as you know, we have some dead spots in the area with cell service, but these were able to navigate in all of our 90 miles. We tested in on a number of different routes, so we are ordering them for the buses for next year's. So that was really exciting. Just a quick update. The Rotary Club is looking for a host family for an international student for next year. So we have been hosting students for 40 years. We had Anya this year, which was great. She was from India, but we would like to have another student next year, but they're looking for a host family in the community to take one in. And the Red Hook Education Foundation, just a reminder that their gala is on Friday, the 20th. And that money will go to support scholarships. So at awards night, they were able to award 2 seniors scholarships, $2,500 for each year that they're going to attend school, one for a 4-year program and one for a 2-year program, which was incredibly generous. So this gala will go to support that as well. Thank you.
Good evening. What a wonderful night of celebration across the board.
Yeah.
Really, really proud of our faculty. So in the Office of Curriculum, we have certainly been busy. We have spent the time through a district level committee, and we've hired a new PPS director. We've also worked on hiring tonight. You'll meet our new computer science teacher and our new social studies teacher at the high school. We coordinated, and that work started in February, the May Budget Expo, managing all logistics, faculty, students, and district budget-funded community involvement and refreshments. A sincere thank you to all of the faculty who put forth such a wonderful display of all the good work that happens daily. That is also a sincere thank you to the administrative team. Without their help, this would not be such a successful night for our community. I help support and coordinate with Dr. Warden and led the final district-wide strategic planning meeting, which brought together our district's educational leaders to confer on building a district-level goal alignment. That was a very successful meeting, and a lot of voices were heard. I have also participated as a member of the Literacy and Numeracy Subcommittee via BOCES. We finished all our walkthroughs and observations by June 1st for our faculty and staff. Continue to lead meetings and additional efforts in support of the Professional Development Committee, Curriculum Council, the Coherence meetings, Equity Committee, and APPR meetings. I continue to evaluate programming with the support of teachers and building administrators to continuously look at improving literacy. We work with our literacy coach, who's Val Falco. She's been with us probably around 7 years. Let's see what else. We continue to coordinate the programming for this summer, and we are now working on our administrative retreat. I continue to review summer curriculum writing proposals submitted by our faculty. We're in the process of collecting and reviewing end of the year reports from the building clubs and activity from the advisors. So we are busy. We continue to manage contracts for arts and education. And we have begun the process for the title grants, the ESSA title grant application. I continue to attend ERAC meetings at BOCES. That's with other assistant superintendents. And we also continue to manage the homeschooler documentation and updates. So busy time of year. And I appreciate all the support from the building administration, our district leadership team, and certainly our faculty and staff.
Well, I'm glad you're busy. Our students are busy too.
Everyone's busy.
Everyone's
busy. It's that time of year.
Do you have some questions?
Yeah, I was just wondering, for the strategic planning meeting, was there a certain purpose for that or goal or outcome?
Yeah,
that up?
I can talk to that. So what we did is we started with our district goals and we looked at we had mixed groups from the elementary, middle school and high school just to talk about alignment and coherence. So when we're talking about project-based learning, what does that look like across the school district? When we're talking about equity, when we're talking about social emotional learning. So that was really the alignment and just to hear, even though we're small district, we don't really have those opportunities to get together. So that was really, and then it was next steps at the building level to continue those goals. So we can present that to you in the beginning of the school year too about, you know, all the things that we have done to meet those goals and what we continue to do. So yeah. Anything else? So I want to just take a moment too, because to commend Dr. Summers and Dr. Hayes for all the work that they did this year. I think, sometimes it feels like it goes unnoticed, but I completely appreciate all the work that you've done and you can actually see some of the work. But also sometimes you can't always see it, but I want to commend them both for their professionalism and their constant will to make this district the best that it could possibly be. So thank you to both of you.
Thanks. You don't get a certificate though.
I will get you one tomorrow.
You're the best superintendent ever. Thank you.
All right, that brings us to policy review. We're gonna, let me, bear with me, we need to make an adjustment. I'm gonna direct us first to item 8 under policy. This is listed here as a first read is policy 7680, independent educational evaluations. And due to some timeliness in getting this implemented, Jack Costello's asked if we can pass this evening. So we're going to make this one both a first and a second read. And so if I can have a motion on policy 7680, both as a first and second read to pass this evening. Any questions or comments on this? All in favor? All right. Then the rest of these are all first reads or abolishing policies. So for items 1 through 7 and 9 and 10, do I have a motion? Any questions or comments? And I'll note that this does include policy 7316 as a first read, which is use of internet-enabled devices during the school day. We discussed that at the policy meeting this evening. We currently have that in place K through 8, and this is extending that K through 12. This is in line with and following the state mandate that has come. So I would encourage you to read that one carefully. And if you have questions now, ask. Otherwise, we do need to pass this one by August 1st. So we'll be doing this as a second read and voting on it at our meeting in July.
And I can review the different areas.
Yeah, I was just going to ask for if you could give some background and context on how we arrived here and any change that the new Bell-to-Bell ban has over this policy. And I would love to hear about like the stakeholders that came together that came up with this.
Well, it's not a lot of choice. So most of the stuff that is in the policy is part of the mandate that goes with the state. So a lot of the policies will look similar across the state. But Ms. Smith and Dr. Roddy did meet with their building level teams and really talk about some of the only decisions really are on-site storage. So if you go to I don't know how it's going to look on yours, but it says, I think page 3. So on-site storage, they talked about the best place for students to put it is in their lockers because it seems even when if it's on them, that could be problematic. We also have methods that we had to write down for contacting students during the day. So There is a school office phone that parents can also call. There's a classroom phone system. And then, of course, there's also our written notes. We also had to have a discussion about student discipline regarding that. And it's basically um, anybody who, there'll be a series of progressive discipline like we have for anything. Certainly talking to the parent, asking the parent to pick up the lunch, I'm sorry, the student's phone, having a lunch detention or an after school. But we would consider that any student refusing to provide the staff with the device would be considered an insubordinate. So that's also in our code of conduct. So part of the mandate is that you cannot suspend students for actually having the phone. But obviously it's insubordinate if you're not going to follow the code of conduct. So those are the big things that I think that we had some control over, but I think most districts will do them very similar. Our code of conduct is progressive discipline to begin with, so that matches with that. And the methods to contact parents would be certainly what we've always encouraged students to do. You can come use the office phone if necessary. And like we said, in case of emergency, there's a classroom phone. And then they decided to do the lockers. And I know kids are apprehensive to use their lockers, but that's the best situation that we're looking at in the policy.
One thing we clarified in the policy meeting, and Austin used the term bell to bell, which is a good way to define it because in the policy they can't use it in the building, but that's from the first bell to the last bell. Once the last bell ends, kids can access their phone. They need to text. There's a change in plans. Call them.
Right. So that right now there's a lot of lunch and study hall, so that would also be not allowed. I also just want to emphasize that there are certain students that would still be required to have this, as far as like students with diabetes that have apps on their phones. So anything for a management of student health care would still be allowed. In the event of an emergency, also for translation services. So a lot of times it's used for students who English is not their first language, and that may need to be continued to use based on maybe the teacher or administrator. And also on a case by case basis, basically coming from maybe a school psychologist or social worker or an administrator that deems it to be necessary. And then the last one just be where required law. And also if it's in a student's IEP or 504 plan. So there are some exceptions to those for health and certain issues that would be approved by the administration. So
Any other questions or comments on anything in the policies?
I do have a comment on, as far as I can tell, it looks like that for pre-K through eighth, that there's no change to this smart device policy. Um, does that sound accurate?
correct, because it was always off and away.
And I would say, I would suggest that we have like the same policy across the board and include the middle school in the putting it in your lockers, the same as the high school. Because I'm just wondering why the distinction for middle school students.
Is there a distinction, Stacy?
It
No,
says
they
to
have
just
in their
put it-
lockers too. Yeah, they do lockers.
Because in the policy, it says in a school bag.
The old policy.
And then it said, maybe I'm reading this wrong, but it says no changes to that policy.
Should I?
So,
We'll have to
I'm
change
just,
it. So, or we could just, as a group, take this whole policy as is and just make it for the whole
the
district.
whole district.
Yeah,
I think that's what we were aiming for.
I thought that was the intention.
Yeah.
But yeah, you raise a good point.
I don't think it's
Yeah.
written in there though explicitly like that.
Yeah.
So we could get that in there.
Well, no, I think the point is this policy applies K through 12. There was currently a policy K through 8, but that didn't require, as Jen noted, putting in the locker. And that was the intention, was that this policy, Elena, is going to go K through 12. The new policy. Yeah, yeah.
So, is it safe to say or fair to say that the shift that will occur, at least in the middle school and high school, is more so in the more unregulated non-classroom spaces like the hallways and the cafeteria and maybe the occasional study hall that permitted cell phone use? Is that where we're seeing now this is no phones across the board?
Correct.
Right. So, I mean, as someone that's worked in schools for the last decade, I see this as like a gift from the state, right? We no longer have to be, or teachers, administrators no longer have to be the bad guy to say, I'm telling you, put your phone away. It's the law. And I think this is an opportunity to kind of set the tone at the start of the school year. We are enforcing this law, maybe in a different way than prior. And I think I'm hopeful that we can recapture a lot of the focus and attention of students in a way that we have kind of seen that slip away. So I appreciate also the comments from our visitors earlier in regards to the community read that has been occurring. I think conversations over enforcement, over screen time in school, I would welcome that conversation continuing. But I am very hopeful, and I think this all sounds great.
I have a quick question. Is this a conversation that will be had with students prior to the end of the school?
So, no,
No.
because they're leaving tomorrow. I think the kids probably know it's coming more than the adults.
Okay.
I know that Dr. Roddy spoke to the ninth grade parents. He was waiting for this night to send something out to the whole community. He was waiting for the board to give that feedback before he sends it out. I think it's always been something that Mrs. Smith has said in her school. Yeah, and I think the enforcement thing is going to be something that we're going to need a lot of parental support with as well. So, to let their children know to not take it out, supporting the school when we do call and say it is out. And we're going to need both support, not only from the school enforcing it, but also help the parent support helping us do that.
Now, they will still have their school-issued laptops that are controlled, but I'll be interested to see how creative our students get.
Ms. Smith has some experience with that already.
So any other comments or questions? All right, these are all first reads, so again, we'll be voting on them. Well, except the one that we already passed. So anyways, so to vote, we are now voting on, bear with me. Policy items listed here 1 through 7, policy 7554, item 9, and then we're abolishing some policies. So all in favor of those? Aye. All right, Dr. Warden. Is there anything on BOCES spotlight? It's just was for our information. Yep. Did you want to speak on PII?
Sure. Let me just pull it up here. So we've had a lot of conversation about the Ed Law 2D and basically about protecting PII. It's called personally identifiable information. So we have a lot of safeguards in the school district. And one of the things that come up is our student recognitions as well as public comment and just really safeguarding students' academic records, their health and their medical information, any behavioral reports or family circumstances. So we just wanted to talk to the board about either how we want to handle that when it comes to public comment and when it comes to recognition of students. It's okay to have the student board member. That was something that was okayed, but those two areas are something we have to have a conversation about how we want to handle that. I think we gave everybody the sheet that talks about it.
Comments? Thoughts?
So is this primarily for I guess what I'm wondering about is like celebrating student achievement. How is this affecting that? Are we still able to do that in the same way a newspaper or a post on the website would celebrate students and their achievements?
So newspapers don't have the same laws that govern them. So we could put a student's, like, we could put what they're being recognized for and not their first and last name on the board docs. They recommend that you recognize a group of people, but when you start naming individual students and their recognition, that could bring personally identifiable information. And Donna also often talks about stealing the data of a young person. They will most likely never find out until they're 18 years old or later, and their data is now being taken. So it's really kind of up to the board how much they want to take it. We just wanted to bring it to your attention that oftentimes too, when there is public comment, at times there could be families that disclose medical information about their children or i- just incidents that occur in the school that would also personally identify students. And we are live streaming that out. We do have people who are newspapers here, so we do have a responsibility to follow that law. And when that happens, it's kind of out of our control to do it, but we also have a responsibility to our students to protect that.
And one thought on that, along those lines is it's very difficult to try and regulate what people are saying during public comment. We ask that, they not mention student names, or teachers. Um, we've talked about adding disclaimer language that if you were a parent and you do that, you're acknowledging that, you're sharing that personally identifiable information. That being said, we have had a number of instances where people have spoken about their child and um, uh, information around that child that ideally, that child later in life may not want public. And yet, with the recordings and transcribed, I think these go on YouTube and they're transcribed. So AI can easily do a search and find that information. So um, one thought we've had is to protect the child because I've sat here trying to sometimes monitor, and it's just it's difficult to try and interrupt people and stop that. So would be during public comment, um, uh, to simply pause the recording so that part of the recording is not there.
So that's one
Oh.
option, or you could say the disclaimer too. Yeah.
Or we could say the disclaimer. So those are some of the things we thought about, and there's pluses and minuses. I mean, public comment's important, um, uh, and it would be difficult to decide which public comment we want to pause and which public comment we don't.
You wouldn't know until the person
Starts.
You'd have to pause it for all.
You've been in this seat. How
Definitely.
how easy do you find that? Yeah, it's hard.
I think we could, and maybe we do the disclaimer, this would be my recommendation, but then as an entire board, remind each other when that happens, so that we can not only leave it because it's hard to manage both.
I think it makes sense to start with a disclaimer, and let's see how that goes. I mean, public comment is important, and to like not have that as part of the session, recorded session that people can go view later, I think would be not ideal. So a disclaimer, and and we keep a close eye on this. And I think whoever is sitting in this seat in the future just is going to have to be more proactive to shut down situations where information like that is being
So
revealed.
in addition, we'll continue to pause the live stream for all recognitions, correct?
I would just have you read that,
Just
the
disclaimer.
highlighted one.
Okay.
No. The second part, you're right, is that you are all, as school board members, required to follow that. So I think I would probably recommend not to record that part, unless it's like a group of students. They gave you the 4 bullet points, like hold recognition ceremonies in a special session. If a school board wants to broadcast the recognition, do not include any student data in the board meeting agenda. Conduct the ceremony before or after the board meeting, and do not record the ceremony. If the school board wants to recognize a group of students, such as the debate team or football team during a board meeting, the school board should refrain from identifying any individual. If the presentations are made to the school board meeting, make sure they do not contain any student data.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean like when we do the
Yeah.
3 through 8.
Now, one option would be, as we did with tenure this evening, we did that before the official meeting started. And with our students, when we do recognitions, we often try and pull those up early because they need to get home and get schoolwork done or get to bed. So we could do recognitions always, do the Pledge of Allegiance. Well, we do it before the pledge, whatever. We do them first before we start the recording.
Or we could even start at 6:45 or something for that. To start them early.
Yeah,
And their names wouldn't be written in the agenda then also.
their
right?
names would not be in the agenda. I asked, when I was exploring this, I asked, what about, like, are we going to stop publishing honor roll?
This is a little bit more information, like us saying like, this is the student that just did this.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when we sign, it's not the same thing. We're all, from time in the beginning of the year, like, how your child's picture being published. I think this environment, live stream, comments, share. I mean, this is not new. Say, can't say your child's name, but with that and don't go to child. That's kind of, that's what just. Then it's important.
I think that's right, because I think, we could get lost in the weeds on this, on personally identifiable information. But I think if we step back, we recognized Eagle Scouts. I don't think there's any harm that's been done by publicly acknowledging some of our students who have earned Eagle Scouts or have earned other awards, our valedictorian, salutatorian, other things. I think it's one of those things you know it when you see it. And I think it's those sensitive issues that it's not a recognition. It's,
Yeah.
And you could even do it on the online agenda as well. Just have that disclaimer on
Yeah,
there.
I think it's less about us doing it and more the fact that we're streaming it. So that goes wherever. I think that's the bigger issue. I think if we didn't have the streaming, I think it would probably be a non-issue. But you're putting that out without the students' really knowledge of how that could impact them later in life too. So I think
So-
it comes down to the streaming.
So do we do recognitions before the meeting starts and then start the stream, and then we have the disclaimer for public comments?
Sounds good
Let's
to me.
try that.
Yeah.
And then if it doesn't, it's not successful, we'll go back.
Yeah, I mean, if the disclaimer or whoever's in the seat is not able to effectively limit that, then
I agree.
I have a quick question. Does everybody feel like the live stream is valuable? I don't know how many other districts continue to live stream after COVID. Really just curious about that.
we talked about that, and the process for live stream, we record the meetings anyways, and so there's not any incremental, there's not, we asked Alana, there's nothing more incremental to live stream since we're
They
doing the recording.
Do just the minutes have to be reported?
They do not need to be, the meeting does not need to be recorded. I mean, I think we're living in a day and age that this is something we're always going to have to revisit with the issues with doxing people, artificial intelligence. There's a lot of things that can go on with recordings. So I think this is.
I value the recordings. I think if we're trying to say we want to engage the community, to take that away sends the wrong message, because it's not easy to come to a board meeting at from 7 to 9 on a weeknight, especially if you have young kids. So I think having that available, if not live, then definitely next day to watch and stay in the loop is important.
And there are, I believe there's a couple dozen views usually of recorded board meetings.
How many people are live right now?
Seven.
And then how many views do we get? Do you?
So the views are hard to determine because a lot of it's me, John Leska, we go in and we look at them the next day. We have to download them and put them on. So I'm in a video 3 or 4 times myself at least, post meeting. But there's usually about 20, I'd say. And then, if there's a hot button topic, obviously there's more, right? But there is a lot of talk with the clerks about what different districts are gonna do. But I don't, it runs the gamut, Some people still aren't even recording their meetings at all. So, it's just, it really depends on the district and it depends on, this new thing is adding a whole another level. But, I think people, like Janet said, I think people are gonna continue to do it because technology is certainly not going away.
Yeah.
There you go.
Reality is, it's historically in Red Hook, like they're supposed to be and our culture of access. You know what I'm saying? And I agree with you, like access is. Access. I also agree with you that, we faced it during COVID, we got on Zoom, our very. So you don't want to be proactive and not reactive. Anything that's versus live, people are.
Well, it's also one of those things to judge what to take out too. That's not probably something.
Yeah, it's hard to then go back and start selectively editing. Well, I, I think, for, you know, I agree. I think it would be hard to take something away that, at least some portion of our community relies on. Technology is there. I think, the solution is to figure out how to work with it, not use it. And so maybe at least for now, we'll do the recognition at the beginning before we start the recording. Then when we have public comment, we'll have the disclaimer, and whoever's moderating the meeting, I would encourage to be aggressive in stopping comment, if necessary, that's inappropriate or that violates, because the issue we talked about was we can have a disclaimer and a parent can just decide to ignore that and then, say all sorts of things that their child later would regret having out there. And I think we have an obligation first and foremost to protect the child, not the parent's right to speak. Right. All right. Does that make sense for everybody?
It does.
Yeah. All right.
Elena, does that need to change any sort of policy, you think?
Thing you said that, I was thinking maybe we have to update the, how we do that pretty much on a pretty regular basis anyway, our public comment.
Comment.
We have a policy on that we put on all the agendas. Might be worth seeing if we need to add any language. I can reach out to Shannon and ask her
Yeah.
what they think about that.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Date for BOE retreat and date of reorg, July 3rd. The reorg is June 3rd at 4 p.m. July 3rd at 4 p.m. See,
Back in
I, yes.
Can I just say something about that? We did have 5 p.m. originally on our calendar for the reorg. And a couple of times for meetings, the time slot of like 4:30 gets kind of tossed around. And that time is difficult for me. And I think I've said that a couple times. It's really not ideal. And so I just want to put it out there again in terms of us all being able to be at the meetings and, not be late rushing in the door. If we can keep it to outside of the workday, that would just be really appreciated
Yeah.
and helpful.
Understand that. I mean, if it's July 3rd, and one issue that we had was were people going to be leaving town, which is why we were trying to look at other dates potentially. Are people okay with doing 5 o'clock? Does 5 o'clock work for everybody?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for you too. Okay.
Yeah, is that okay?
Charlie?
Yeah, okay, all right. So we'll make it 5 o'clock. Is that, did we already send out a notice? Gonna change it to 5. So, sorry, we have to send another
Thank
notice.
you.
Yeah.
It's appreciated.
No, it's important that everyone be here for that. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. We'll come back. Let's talk about the retreat. Well, we did it like late August. Felt kind of late. Well, I think that's, I think what we're going to have to do is maybe eh, let's not do that voting thing. No offense.
I like those things.
Everybody email me the weeks that don't, or the periods that don't work when you're on vacation, and we'll start with that. Now, we will have to do this during the workday. Yeah, because we take 4 hours for it.
More flexibility during August. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, all right. So, but what, I'll send a reminder email and just reply to that, letting me know at least as best as you know, and check with your spouse if you have to, when you're going to be away. And I'll consolidate that information and find windows that seem to work. And then I'll send that back around to everybody. And then from there, we'll try and pin down a date. But let's see what windows we're all in town at the same time.
That's good.
We'll look at July and August. I'll from like mid-July to later part of August. Does that make sense? I think one of the reasons it ends up being late August is because kids that are doing fall sports or starting sports, or so a lot of people aren't taking vacation, that week before Labor Day.
Are you looking to have an outside person come in for that? Or what is the focus?
We gotten that far
We
yet?
haven't gotten
We haven't gotten that far yet.
Like now, that's
Good to
fine.
Yeah.
Question.
Why don't we have the reorg meeting and that'll be whoever the new officers are can take that conversation up with you. That make sense? Right? It does take time to find somebody though, doesn't it?
It's easy to call the agency. I just know that there's days fill up pretty quickly, so they're usually pretty accommodating though. I just need to know the theme or what you want to.
Well, so this will be a two-part email, windows and themes.
Sure.
All right.
I picked 4 because that was the day that the most people voted yes. Patrick has question marks on 4:30 and 5, so I'm not sure if that's gonna work. I don't know what, I can reach out to him and tomorrow
Can you read?
and see. Yeah, of course.
Can you do 4:30 of worst case?
Yes.
All right. So we have to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like text him or anything yet, so I'll
Okay.
reach out to him tomorrow and then,
Yeah. See if maybe if you can at least do 4:30.
okay,
If 5 doesn't work, 4:30,
sure.
and then we'll do one of those two and
And then I'll let everybody know.
okay.
Thank you.
Right. So that brings us to consent agenda. Do I have a motion? Do we have any comments on anything on the consent agenda? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Personnel agenda, do we have a motion?
And
Any comments, questions?
Exact moment.
I have to, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Dr. Summers.
Yes, I would like to welcome Edward Mars, who's sitting right here. He will be our new computer science teacher at Lambs. Probably a very, very select group have computer science certification because it's so new to our certification system. He comes to us from Port Chester Middle School, where he spent a number of years as a computer science teacher. He has taught students in the field of computer science, including computer infrastructure, programming, game design, and cybersecurity. So we're very pleased with his experience and what he can add to our students' experience at the middle school level. He also is excited about robotics.
I was just gonna say, sounds like a perfect fit for robotics. Yay.
Yes, and he also has some experience in the private sector in the IT world. So he's been a software developer and certainly comes to us with a vast amount of experience, which will certainly add to our program, our academic programming here at Red Hook. So we're very, very pleased to welcome Edward Mars. And our next person that I would like to speak about is Matt Beam. Matt Beam comes to us through Hartwood College. He has certainly spent time at the high school. He has helped us in so many ways over the last few years. He has been a business and technology teacher as a contract sub. He has certainly also done some long-term lead positions. Whatever we needed, Mr. Beam filled it and did it well. The kids love him. They really have great respect for the way he teaches. And we're so happy to welcome him. He's also a varsity football assistant coach, so he adds to our community in so many ways. We are very thrilled to welcome Matt Beam as the new social studies teacher at the high school.
Perfect timing.
We also have 3 retirements on the personnel agenda, so we just wanted to speak to those. All 3 of our retirements, um, Rob Zitz, Paul Menz, and Maria Mealy are longtime employees of the Red Hook District. Rob Zitz has been with us for 20 years. He spent his career at the high school. He started as a cleaner. He moved up to courier and grounds, and then he was the head custodian at the high school since 2008. So great guy, very reliable. He did a lot for the high school, and he's busy. He also has his own farm where he butchers meats and sells them. So his wife has been holding the fort down for 20 years doing that for him. So she's happy to have him back, but we wish him well in his retirement. Paul Menz, you all know, and he spent his whole career here. He's synonymous with Mill Road. He just is an incredible staple here, wonderful to the staff and the students. And he actually asked to come back in the capacity of a sub aide, which is great. And
Nice.
yeah, so he can work with the kids. So he is absolutely going to be missed by everyone. And we wish him well in his retirement. And Maria Mealy started with us in 2000, and she worked in both food service and then in our transportation department. She was wonderful with the kids, especially at the high school. She would remember their favorite meals and always make personal connections with them. But she is ending her career with us this spring, and we wish her well as well.
We do have a few other people leaving, Ariana Feliciato, Claudia Bresky, and Doug Keto, who also added tremendously to our school district. So we wish them well in their next endeavor. They're good. All 3 of them will leave their mark through technology, art, and of course the garden program. We appreciate them and wish them well in their next adventure in life. And they will all be very much missed. That's it, I think.
All right.
Unless I missed something.
That brings us to recognition of visitors, number 2. If there's anybody that would like to address the board. Nope, I'll take that as a no. That brings us to our final business item, adjournment. Do I have a motion? All in favor?
I was like, what, did I forget? Bye, Charlie. Bye, Charlie.